Okay, hello ladies. We're going to talk about atom diagramming today. So what is an atom diagram? It is an illustration of what an atom looks like on the inside. So it tells us how many subatomic particles it has, and it shows us where those particles are located. So remember, the three subatomic particles are protons, neutrons, and electrons. And then protons and neutrons are in the nucleus, and electrons are outside the nucleus. Here are the steps to atom diagramming. So what you're going to do is follow along and write these in your note catcher that you were given. So step 1, identify the element. Also identify the mass number, which is m.n, and the atomic number, which is a.n. Remember, each number tells us something different. The atomic number tells us the number of protons and electrons, and the mass number tells us the sum of protons and neutrons. Step 2, determine the amounts of subatomic particles. So in our example here, we have oxygen. So our atomic number is 8, and our mass number, we're going to round up to 16. So remember, the atomic number tells us the number of protons and the number of electrons. So these numbers are both going to be 8. And then to find the number of neutrons, we do mass number minus atomic number, which is 8. So oxygen would have 8 protons, 8 neutrons, and 8 electrons. Step 3, draw the nucleus. We know that the nucleus is the center of the atom. And again, we are using the Bohr model to do this because it's the easiest way to illustrate it. So we want to just draw a circle in the center. And there are 8 protons and 8 neutrons in our example of oxygen. So this is our nucleus. The next step is to add the energy levels. So to determine how many energy levels, you look at the row the element is in. And remember, rows go from left to right. So you need to get your periodic table out, and you can see mine here. So if we are doing oxygen, oxygen is in this second row right here. So that means that there's going to have 2 energy levels. So if we are doing this as our example, we have our nucleus, and then we have 2 circles around our nucleus. Then the last step is to draw the electrons, but there are some rules when we draw the electrons. So rules. Each level can only hold a certain number of electrons, so you're going to see the chart on the next slide. We're going to add them individually at 12, 3, 6, and 9, like you're following a clock. Electrons are always added individually to half capacity, and then we pair them up. This is because, think of a bus. If you were on a bus and there was an empty seat, you would sit in the empty seat before you'd pair up with somebody. And then just a reminder, always double check the number of electrons. This is a way to check your work and make sure that you have your drawing correct. So take a second and record these in your notes. So the first energy level can hold 2 electrons, the second 8, third 8, fourth 18, and the fifth 36. Generally, we're not going to go past 4 when we do ours, but as they go higher, there's some exceptions, so most of the time we'll stick to 4 or less. So let's go back to our example 1. So we started with oxygen, right? So we said that there was 8 protons and 8 neutrons, and we know that there are 2 circles around the outside. Then we need 8 electrons. So the first energy level can hold 2. So we're drawing 2. And remember, we're adding to half capacity, so we add them separately. So if you want to, you can keep track. So like we want 8 electrons. We just drew 2, so now we have 6 electrons left. And that's how many we need to put on the second ring. And if you remember, the second ring has a capacity of 8. So we're going to add these like a clock. 12, 3, 6, 9. That's only 4, so we have to keep going. 5, 6. So now we can count them up, and we have 8 electrons, so we know that our diagram is correct. Let's do another example. Here's carbon. So our atomic number, is 6. And then we have a mass number of 12. So our protons are 6, our neutrons are 6, and our electrons are 6. So now we're going to do step 2, draw the nucleus. So we draw our circle in the middle, and we write how many protons and how many neutrons there are. Then we have to go back and figure out how many circles we need to go around the outside. So let's see. So we have to find carbon. So carbon is right here. So it is also in the second row, which means we're going to draw 2 circles around it. So we're going to come back to our example. Draw 2 circles. And then our next step, we're going to add the electrons. So again, we're going to draw 2 electrons, making sure that we do not add the electrons to the nucleus circle. So we can keep track over here, right? We wanted 6 electrons. We just drew 2. So now we have 4 electrons left. And so again, we're going to add them at 12, 3, 6, and 9. And we can count our electrons up. We have 6. So our model has everything that it needs. And then that's it. So what you're going to do now, you should get a practice worksheet, and you're going to practice drawing 4 models of your own.